My wife cheated with her ex, leading to the ultimate betrayal. So I vanished and took my revenge. Hey Reddit. My wife and I had been together for 8 years, married for 5. I thought we had a strong relationship, built on trust and mutual respect. We had our ups and downs, like any couple, but nothing that ever made me question her loyalty. Or so I believed. I worked hard to provide for us, often putting in extra hours at my job to ensure we had a comfortable life. Maybe that was my first mistake, assuming that financial stability equated to emotional security. It started with little things. She became distant, more protective of her phone, and often seemed lost in thought. When I asked her about it, she brushed it off as stress from work. I wanted to believe her. After all, trust was the foundation of our marriage. But then she started working late, sometimes staying out until the early hours of the morning, claiming it was for projects that required her full attention. I tried to be supportive, but something felt off. One evening, I decided to surprise her at her office with dinner. It was something I used to do back when we first started dating, and I figured it might rekindle the connection that seemed to be slipping away. But when I arrived, her coworkers told me she had left hours ago. My heart pounded as I called her. She didn't pick up. Minutes later, she texted me, "Hey, sorry, super busy, can't talk." That was the moment I knew. The next few weeks, I played dumb while I gathered evidence. I started checking our shared bank statements, looking for any unusual transactions. There were charges for hotel rooms, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, and even gifts from stores that I knew weren't for me. I considered confronting her immediately, but I needed undeniable proof. So, I did something I never thought I would. I followed her. One night, she told me she had an important meeting and wouldn't be home until late. I pretended to believe her, kissed her goodbye, and then tailed her car. My worst fears were confirmed when she pulled into the parking lot of a hotel and met someone at the entrance. Even in the dim lighting, I recognized him instantly. Her ex, the man she swore was nothing but a distant memory. I watched as they embraced, laughing like two lovers reunited after years apart. I felt sick. I wanted to storm inside and expose them right then and there, but I held back. I needed a plan. Confrontation wouldn't be enough. I wanted to make sure she felt the depth of her betrayal. I spent the next few days preparing my revenge. First, I contacted a lawyer and quietly set things in motion for a divorce. I wanted to make sure she had no idea what was coming. I gathered all the evidence, screenshots of her messages, bank transactions, and even photos I discreetly took that night. But I wasn't just going to leave her. No, I wanted her to feel the weight of what she had done. I started by withdrawing all my money from our joint accounts. She had been living comfortably off my salary, while hers barely covered half the bills. I made sure she'd wake up one morning to an empty account and a mountain of expenses she had no way to pay. Then, I canceled all the credit cards under my name that she had access to. She wouldn't notice until she tried to use them, and by then, it would be too late. The final step? Disappearing. The night before I left, I cooked her favorite dinner. She was in a great mood, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. I played along, pretending everything was normal, even when she kissed me goodnight, oblivious to the fact that it was the last time she'd see me in our home. The next morning, I was gone. I left the divorce papers on the kitchen counter, along with a note that simply read, "I know everything. You made your choice. Now live with it." I blocked her number, deleted all our shared social media accounts, and left town. I moved to a different city, started fresh, and cut off everyone who was still connected to her. I didn't need to hear her excuses or fake apologies. She had made her decision, and so had I. But of course, she didn't just let me vanish. A few days later, I started receiving emails from mutual friends, asking what had happened. She was telling people that I had abandoned her out of nowhere, painting herself as the victim. She had no idea that I had made sure the truth would come out. I sent an email to a few key people, attaching all the evidence of her affair. I didn't add a single word, just the cold, hard proof of her betrayal. The fallout was worse than I expected. Her friends turned against her, her family was furious, and even her ex, the very man she had betrayed me for, disappeared from her life as soon as he realized she was now financially ruined. I thought that was the end of it. But then, weeks later, I got an unexpected message from her. She had tracked down my new number, and what she said left me in shock. Update: I wasn't expecting to ever hear from her again. After I disappeared, I made sure there was no way for her to contact me, but somehow, she managed to find my new number. The message was short at first. She just said we needed to talk. I ignored it. A few hours later, she sent another, longer one. She was panicking, begging, saying she was sorry and that she had made a mistake. She said she didn't expect me to leave like that she thought we could work things out. As if there was anything left to salvage. I deleted the messages without responding. But she wasn't done. Over the next few days, she started sending emails, long-winded letters filled with half-baked excuses and pathetic attempts to justify what she had done. She claimed she never really loved her ex, that it was just a mistake, a moment of weakness. That she only went back to him because she was feeling lonely since I had been working so much. That she thought she could handle it and break it off before it got too serious. I almost laughed when I read that. Too serious? She had been sneaking around for months, spending money on hotel rooms and expensive dinners, lying to my face every single day. That wasn't a mistake, that was a choice, and she had made it over and over again. Then she tried to shift the blame. She said that I had been distant, that I made her feel neglected, that if I had just paid more attention to her, maybe she wouldn't have gone back to him. That was when I knew she wasn't sorry about what she had done, she was sorry she got caught. She had no remorse, no real guilt. She was scrambling because she had lost everything, and she wanted me to come back and fix it. But there was nothing left to fix. I ignored every message, but she didn't stop. She tried calling me from different numbers. I blocked them all. Then she started reaching out to my family, telling them that I had abandoned her without an explanation, spinning the story to make herself look like the victim. Fortunately, my family already knew the truth. I had sent them the evidence before I left, so when she tried to guilt-trip them into getting me to talk to her, they shut her down. That only made her more desperate. A week later, I got another email. This time, the tone had changed. She wasn't begging anymore. She was angry. She accused me of ruining her life, of turning everyone against her. She said she had lost friends, that her own family barely spoke to her, that she was drowning in debt now that she didn't have my income to rely on. She had to sell our house because she couldn't afford the mortgage on her own. She was furious that I had drained our accounts before leaving, calling me selfish for not giving her a chance to explain. She told me that her ex had abandoned her the moment she became single, that he had only wanted her because she was off limits. That stung her the most, realizing she had thrown away her marriage for a man who never really wanted her in the first place. I should have felt some satisfaction, but I didn't. I just felt tired. I had wasted years of my life on someone who never truly valued me. Now, she was left with the consequences of her actions, and all she could do was lash out. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. But I had a feeling this wasn't the last I'd hear from her. Another update. I thought blocking her on everything would be enough. I was wrong. She wasn't done with me yet. A few weeks after her last angry email, I started hearing from mutual friends again. They told me she was still talking about me, still trying to control the narrative. She was telling people that I had overreacted, that what she did wasn't really that bad, that I had been cruel for leaving without giving her a second chance. But the thing that really got to me was when I found out she had been trying to track me down. She had been asking around, trying to figure out where I had moved. She even reached out to my old job, pretending to be concerned about my well-being. Luckily, my former coworkers knew better than to tell her anything. But it freaked me out. I had left to escape her, to start over, and now she was trying to pull me back in. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up at my new place. I don't know how she found me, but one evening, I heard a knock at my door, and when I looked through the peephole, there she was. She looked different, exhausted, desperate. I didn't open the door. I stood there, frozen, as she knocked again and again, calling my name. Saying we needed to talk. That she just wanted closure. I didn't believe her. I waited until she finally gave up and left. Then I packed a bag and stayed at a hotel for a few days, just in case. I wasn't taking any chances. I knew she wasn't done. And I was right. The next day, I got another message from her. She told me she had something important to tell me. Something that would change everything. I knew it was a trap, but part of me still wondered. What could she possibly say now that would make a difference? Against my better judgment, I read the message. And when I did, my heart stopped. She said she was pregnant. Final update. At first, I thought it was a lie. A desperate attempt to reel me back in. But then she sent a picture of a positive test. I didn't know what to think. Was it even real? And if it was it mine? I didn't respond. I needed time to process. But she didn't give me that. She kept messaging, saying she needed to talk, that we had to figure things out. That she didn't expect this to happen, but now that it had, we needed to be adults about it. She tried to guilt me, saying that if I ignored her, I would be abandoning my own child. But I wasn't stupid. I knew there was a strong possibility that the baby wasn't mine. I told her that if she was serious, she would have to take a paternity test. She freaked out, said I should just trust her. That she had only been with her ex a few times, and that she knew it had to be mine. That was all I needed to hear. If she wasn't willing to prove it, then I had my answer. I told her I wasn't going to be manipulated. That if she wanted to prove anything, she could do it through the legal system. And then I blocked her. Again, a few weeks later, I got an email from her lawyer. She was trying to come after me for child support. But by then, I had already lawyered up. I made it clear that I wasn't going to pay a cent without absolute proof that the child was mine. She stalled, avoided taking the test, dragged things out for as long as she could. Until finally, the results came in. The baby wasn't mine. I felt a strange mix of relief and anger. Relief that I wasn't trapped in her mess, but anger that she had tried to manipulate me one last time. I forwarded the results to her lawyer and made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with her ever again. I expected one last desperate attempt from her, but she never reached out again. She had lost everything, and in the end, she had no one to blame but herself. As for me, I moved on. For real this time. I started fresh, built a new life for myself. It took time, but I finally found peace. And I knew one thing for sure, I would never let someone like her into my life again.